It's me, Vera, here to remind you that this is an adult podcast. That means we're going to deal with tough topics. Take a break if you need it, and be kind to yourself, because we sure won't be.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Cracked Crown, a Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition podcast. As always, I am your storyteller, Mike Martin. Today, I am joined by the dynamic duo that is Josh and Jason, a duo that we haven't seen together in their own little one-off episode that we are going to get the treat of peeking in on this evening. Hey, guys, how's it going?
What's up? I'm excited to see how British we can get.
Right. Yeah, a real Brit and a fake Brit all together at once. This will be exciting. This will be fun. It's Sean and Robert as a duo is not something that I don't think a lot of people think of. There's a lot of differences between the two of them, but I think we'll find there's a lot of similarities probably between the two of them. just a bit. You both hate Gary from Garrett, or Garrett from Gary. You both don't like him, and there's a friendly through line right there. We're going to be jumping in and doing we were supposed to do a one-off last week, but a little duo works a lot better for us this week. And just before we jump in, as always, a huge thank you to everybody who's listening to the show. As always, this is without your ears, without your support, there would be no show to be doing. And if you guys want to support us more directly, you can head over to patreon.com/podbynight, and you can go ahead and support us financially there, get a few extra bonuses in the process, and just keep this show moving. And if you just want to jump in with the community, jump into the Discord. Head over to twitter.com/podbynight. There's like a link tree. And the Discord is free to join. Head in there, talk about the show, join the community as we inch our way toward 1,000 people in that community. I think I'm going to keep it short. How's the community game thing going, by the way? I don't know if that I don't know what's going on that side of things. Really.
It's going really well. As ever, they are now on the edge of war. And they've made some decisions about how the Drac Pack have affected them in that, some of their NPCs are missing / dead, and they're falling apart, basically. Diplomatic relations are bad. You're saying Drac Pack
came and fixed everything, is what happened.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. All right, well, with the shilling out of the way, if you boys are ready to jump in, we're just going to slip right into the world. So, as always, let's set the scene, rein things in, and see what this duo is up to. It's long after Vera and Duke have wandered away for the evening to their respective hovels where they keep themselves safe as the sunlight would rise on the next day. But there's still a few hours left in the night, and as the rest of the coterie meanders off to their separate areas, we find ourselves with a curious couple in a small, familiar room underneath the tire shop, with no business to attend to up top, and all Crystal, and the rest having already left, and Garrett from Gary, having made sure that Vera said he could go home, also finally left, avoiding Robert as much as he possibly can. And sat in the bottom of this tire shop, the young-faced, fresh-looking Sean stands after a little bit of a stakeout, shall we call it, a few days ago to that home where somebody is being kept chained in the basement with chains that not a kindred can touch. And across from him, perhaps busy reading something, distracted for a moment before realizing everybody's gone but Sean, stands the ever impeccable Robert Creslington III, and Sean. As Robert looks up from whatever it is he may be studying, he realizes he is alone in the room with Sean, perhaps alone with Sean for the first time since joining the coterie itself. And Sean, perhaps just distracted in his own thoughts, Mia nowhere to be found at the moment as she keeps to herself for the most part, especially when there's the rest of the coterie around. You're sat kind of simply just awkwardly, we have a moment where we pull our camera back. The two of you kind of just lock eyesight, and we have an awkward moment of realization that it's just the two of you. I don't know if there would be Yeah, go ahead. I feel like Sean was... Josh, you were about to say something. I don't mean to cut you off.
Sean's probably fiddling with some like accounts book from the tire shop or something. He just looks up at Robert and says, after that moment of awkwardness, he stammers and he like searches for literally anything. He's like, is Garrett still here?
Garrett is like a barnacle on the prow of this city that's a ship. Garrett will always be here.
Right, of course, but in
or
this
do you mean
moment...
here in the sense of this specific place?
Yeah, I'm not a metaphor man.
I'm not sure. I have a hate relationship with him. I think we can use him to our advantage, but I'd like to spend as little time with him as possible.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Like, if you want to make him useful, you got to tell him what to do. But that means talking to him, which is awful.
Quite. Well, at least we can agree upon that.
Yeah, if you see him, remind him to grease up the stripper pole. Because he didn't do that.
All right. It seems like a strange request, but
well, it's not. It's not a literal thing. You've got to polish it so it's nice and shiny. It's not.
Well, I thought it is a rather literal thing. It sounds pretty literal to me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, like I say, not a metaphor, man.
I mean, you can't figuratively grease up a pole.
I don't know.
I mean,
I can think of a few poles you could figuratively grease up.
Fine.
Hey.
Sean cackles and Robert looking down at Sean from that terrible pun. As Sean's laughing at the awkward moment, trying to make it a little bit more light as he's, again, not particularly used to being alone with Robert, and Robert taking that pun as Robert does. The laughter is quickly interrupted by the large sound of an 18-wheeler truck pulling up in front of the tire shop. And instead of driving by like most of the cars do at this particular hour, as the shop is not open right now, instead it idles. And after a few moments, you hear the with your keen kindred senses, the definitive sound of a door opening and shutting.
Let's figure out who's trying to burn this place down this time.
Do you grab a weapon? I know Robert always has his gun kind of on him, the eagle eye that he is. Sean, do you have a weapon on you?
Tire iron or something.
Yeah, so Sean just kind of like begrudgingly reaches for a tire iron and drags it off the shelf, the metal against the wood, before he starts nonchalantly making his way up the stairs with the line of, let's see who wants to burn this place down now. And Robert, probably placing his hand on with his palm against the pistol that he holds rather closely, follows suit. As Sean makes his way to the top of the stairs, you can see outside the door, nobody's trying to break their way in. There's a rather wide-set, dumpy-looking fellow, maybe 5'2", 5'3", with a trucker cap on, a dirty, crusty old white t-shirt, and jeans that have seen much better days, looking through the window and almost nonchalantly just kind of waiting. Sean, you recognize him as you came across him very briefly in your meeting with Candy. This is some associate of hers by the name of Tim. Another kindred.
Oh, it's all right.
Tim?
Rob. Yeah, this is Tim.
Hello.
So you make your way to the front door, pop it open, and as you pop it open, he quickly kind of like almost startled turns, and as Robert goes, hello, he just kind of gives a shoulder shrug, and before he sees Sean, hey there, buddy. You're one of, I don't mean to say this in a offensive manner, but you're one of them, or you were looking for them half-breeds, right?
Oh, me? Yeah. Tim. Hi.
He He quickly, like, you see his tongue scoop out something from his cheek before he just turns his head and spits this dark liquid right out of his mouth that hits the ground. Before he reaches into his back pocket, and a crumpled piece of paper he just kind of nonchalantly slaps into your chest and holds it there until you reach up to grab it.
Oh, cheers. What's this?
A gift from our dearest employer.
Oh, sweet. Drugs?
He just shakes his head. If it ever gets back that she's the one that gave you this information, I'm going to be the one taking your head off. So let's keep it between just you, me, and this old guy that you got next to you.
Oh, this is Rob.
Excuse me? Old guy.
He looks you up and down. Well, you certainly dress like an antique.
Tim, is it?
Correct.
You know, when you're given the gift of immortality, the things that they promise you, they never tell you about how bored you'll get. They never tell you how the asinine things and people that you have to deal with on a daily basis. It often makes you rethink some life decisions, or unlife decisions, you might say.
Is there a point to this story, Grandpa? Or are you just trying to make me feel bad?
Well, I wasn't trying to make you feel bad, but clearly I am, or you wouldn't have brought it up. Were you trying to make me feel bad by calling me Grandpa?
Oh, okay. It's always a pleasure, Tim. I love your smiley face. If you want a free tire change later, come back. But
No.
Very interesting company there.
No, I want us to all just sit around and talk about how our feelings are. Maybe we can bring out a drum and start a little circle. What do you think?
That sounds very gangrel. I'm gonna go.
You must be on a tight schedule, Tim. Don't want to keep you any longer than necessary.
He gives a half-hearted, sarcastic smile. These guns ain't gonna ship themselves. Have a good night. And he tips his trucker cap and just kind of starts waddling his way back to his truck. If Sean pulls the piece of paper back and crumples it, it's a hastily written just kind of address. There's no details, nothing more than that. It is just an address written on a piece of paper that you're not sure if it was stained prior or after the address was written, but there's some weird yellowish and dark stains around the edges of the paper.
Well, you know what we were saying about useful people. You recognize this address?
He would not.
No.
All righty.
Does Sean elaborate as to anything, or does he kind of just like let it go?
No, he does say, so I have an investment in making sure that Thin Bloods are not in the best state most of the time. I want to make sure that they're okay. So I'm gonna, you mind coming with me? Because normally it's like I turn up, there's a person there, they're in trouble, I help them, then some goons turn up and try and take my head off. And you have murdered a lot of people recently compared to me. And I appreciate that in a person.
Recently and not so recently. Murdering people is something that just, when you've been living as long as I have, just sort of becomes second nature. It's part of the job, so to speak.
Okay.
Just like the boredom.
Yeah, I haven't
Sometimes
been around long enough to experience.
Wakes you up a little bit.
Yeah?
Knocks you out of the doldrums, just go and murder a few people here and there.
Okay. Well, let's wipe away those cobwebs.
Really takes the sting out of just the horrible existence that sometimes one chooses, or as thrust upon you. Anyway, yes, murder. Who? Give me the address.
Whoa.
Try to murder everyone
Okay,
there.
Okay. We're not killing the person at this address. Just hold on. But we might have to kill some people if they try and kill us. It's just like what happens when you step outside.
Well,
of
that's
a place
just
in Gary.
self-defense. That's not murder.
No. I'm listening. I'm here to absorb your wisdom of ages. We have a car? We don't have a car. Where's Duke's car?
I believe we have a car,
Duke
don't
has
we?
the keys and he drives his car, so I imagine not around.
I think I think we've got like a part exchange for the tire shop round the back.
You could easily call a cab. I mean, you have cars that are being worked on. You could absolutely just nick one of those.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. So we watch as Sean kind of thinks for a minute. He's like, we don't, Duke? Oh, hang on. And he walks out back for just a moment, past into the interior office, and then walks out with a set of keys. You look at it, and it's for a Toyota Corolla. And, you make your way out the back, and as it's sitting there waiting to be serviced, really it just needs an oil change and a tune-up and a look at. You hop in the driver's seat and start the thing up. And Robert, you don't have to go far to see all of this. I imagine Robert doesn't care too much that he's taking somebody else's car. It's not like Robert has a moral stick in the mud about stealing somebody's car or borrowing somebody's car just for the evening. Unless he does.
Not at all.
Exactly.
You just talked about how I would murder that whole house.
That's what I figured. And so Robert is shortly behind, slips into the back seat of the car. And Robert, you're sitting next to an empty baby seat that's strapped in. That's over to the right. There's some toys that are just kind of strewn across the floor. And there's a lingering stink of old applesauce somewhere that hasn't been found. So luckily, as a kindred, you don't have to breathe. So as you slip into this very used family vehicle and Sean begins to drive off, you begin to make your way toward that address. Sean, you don't have any points in drive, but you know how to drive, right?
Yeah, pretty much. No points in drive.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the skill drive is only if you're trying to like cut time and get there much faster. It doesn't take, it takes a while rather for you to drive to this particular point because it's kind of on the opposite side of town. Well, you're on the outskirts of the northern area of Gary. This is toward the south. And yeah, Gary isn't exactly a huge city, but there's still a little bit of traffic and what little law enforcement to avoid to make sure you don't, get pulled over for one reason or another. And of course, hopefully not being seen by the person who owns the vehicle in the first place. The drive is we'll say about 45 or so minutes. You go beyond the factories, beyond the bank that has been recently taken into ownership by the coterie itself, in the small suburban area with the many foreclosed and condemned houses with plenty of black trash bags over broken windows and boarded up doors that have been spray painted plenty. You go even beyond that to a place that has just about on the outskirts of town is still a little bit more a row of brick buildings. All single story save one at the very end, and all continuous, built as though they are a single building that takes up an entire city block. And as you drive by, and even on this, there's spray paint and old posters and pieces of paper that have been deteriorated by age and weather over the many years, speckling the wall that you're driving by. It's at the very end of this block that you note that this building is in fact the address. Turning the corner, or perhaps even circling the block to get an idea of what this building was or is, you quickly realize that at some point it seemed to have been a thrift store. On the corner as you turn, where the sign once was, an old faded place of where a Goodwill would have been, can be seen. The doors themselves are shut, boarded up, and chain locked on the front. And you can't really see on the inside unless you stop the car and walk up to the door where there's, little bits of gaps between the planks on the inside you might be able to peer in. But what you're looking at is a rundown secondhand shop that has been closed for quite some times by the look of it. Sean, I imagine you do do a rotation. You just drive around the block at least once.
Yeah, get a good look.
Please, both of you are welcome to make me a wits awareness check as you kind of just try to quietly and nonchalantly drive around. I'll have to look at that later then. Each of you rolled 1, and on a quick ride around the city block, taking a look at what potentially you can get eyes on, you quickly realize there's not much you can pull from the outside. Even through the windows, the building itself is dark. No power seems to be on the inside, and no glimpses of silhouettes can be caught as you do your circle around the block. Eventually, you come back to the front, and perhaps even Sean, as he rolls up to a stop sign, you just hear him, Do any of you have heightened senses or anything along those lines? I don't think it's an Auspex ability, so I don't think Robert does. No. But no, do you have Auspex abilities at all, Sean?
I do not. No, I've got none of that.
Okay. So as you do a quick look around the block, and these roads are rather abandoned, not many people are around at all. What would you kind of come to the stop at the stop sign? What would you do?
Rob, I think we're gonna have to just go inside.
It's fine. Or we could just set the building on fire.
Yeah, that'd flush them out, but I want to make sure they're okay. And people aren't very receptive.
I mean, it's Gary. It's not like anyone would notice.
True. Can we make that plan B? I want to accidentally
it's just sort of part of the landscape here. All right, plan B it is.
No, whoa.
No, I mean, yes, plan B. That means plan A, we just walk in or whatever. It's fine.
Oh,
blah,
okay.
Blah, blah.
Cool. I thought you were going with it. No, that's, I'm glad we've reached an understanding, I guess. They're going to be hiding. They'll probably be jumpy. So just like, if you hit them, don't hit them too hard, I guess.
All right.
I'm not going to...
You drive the car out a distance. Where do you look to park this thing? How far away from the building? Like a block out, 2 blocks out? Right in front of it?
Yeah, not even that far. Like just kind of around the corner, barely a block away.
Sure. So yeah, you're barely a block out. The car comes to a relatively smooth stop. As you turn it off, for whatever reason, the car quickly like judders and vibrates really hard before the car turns off, which maybe is what you need to be looking at the shop tomorrow. But it does quiet, the headlights come off, and you step out of the vehicle. The driver's side door, and we hear the unhinging and the shut of a metal door, followed by Robert's immediately afterward. And we catch from a distance the two of them, an interesting dichotomy, strolling toward the building and turn toward our camera. As we see Sean dressed as a modern, nonchalant, young 20-something, and Robert in the attire he feels most comfortable in, the ones that once represented his stature in his old life. You approach the front door. The 2 glass doors, as I said, a chain on the outside holding the 2 handles together and boarded up on the inside. But there are little tiny gaps between the wooden boards that you could make an attempt to peer through now that you're here. You could also just avoid the front door altogether and go elsewhere. What are you looking to do?
How do you normally get inside buildings, Rob? How do you normally get inside buildings?
I usually just break the lock and walk in.
Okay.
Or I knock and someone answers.
Yeah.
And then I murder them.
Sweet. Okay. Well, let's try the first
Sean, okay, so you walk up to the front door. Are you looking to just like rip the lock off? Shoot the lock? Obviously, shoot it, and you're going to create a bunch of noise, but
Yeah,
you're kindred.
Let's just see if it's unlocked, first of all.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the outside doors are metal chain, holding them together. Right. So you have to like a master lock thing, kind of holding that together. You have to pop that first.
I could.
So you are both kindred, so your strength is higher than a normal kind.
I could try and pick
but
it
there's other options
or
too.
Or tear it off.
Do you have lockpick tools?
I got rid of some of the fancy ones that Jackson gave me because they were like too fancy and kind of useless. But I carry.
You have like basic ones.
The very basic ones I carry with me.
Then yeah, you can make me a dexterity larceny check if Sean kind of just almost like second nature and muscle memory strides up to the lock, drops down to one knee while pulling some tools out of his back pocket. Do you want to? You could willpower as well and reroll 3 of those.
Yeah, probably should.
Go on, impress me.
Oh man.
Hey, 3 successes is enough for just a master lock like this. And within about less than 2 minutes, as he's concentrating, you see him pulling out these tiny little metallic tools as he sticks them into the lock of the master lock. In about 60 or so seconds, you can hear the definitive click. He slides his tools out of the lock, and the master lock quickly, he pulls it apart and slides it off the chains. The chains themselves loosen, and you can easily pull those things off. You could even keep the chains. I mean, they're like hefty iron chains. Do you slide them off and leave them on the ground, or do you want to? What do you do with them? I'm saying you could keep them and take them, or do you want to leave them? It's up to you.
Why don't we put them back on and then just leave the lock hanging there, but so that at first glance it looks like no one's gone in?
Yeah. I'll
You want to crack the door just enough so you could slip in, and then leave it hanging loose already on the chain. So when you close it, yeah, that works. Make me dexterity stealth checks, the both of you.
Ooh.
Beautiful. Wow. Oh, messy crit. Damn. And 2 successes. You can spend a willpower and reroll 3 of those failures if you want to see if you get a higher, but you could stick with those 2 as well. 2 is pretty good.
2 seems fine.
Okay. So Robert slips in first. He's like, he kind of approaches and, like you said, kind of gives that idea, and Sean's like, oh, that's a good one. So almost definitely like a man of his clan would, steps just underneath the chains, is able to almost, the way he moves his legs, he's almost doing a full split here, and it's just effortless. He moves with a grace that you don't often see Robert move with. Not that Robert's a clumsy individual, but very little or very few times does he need to truly express how dexterous he is. And in this moment, you actually watch him move these inhuman ability to kind of split his legs, duck just under, and tightly squeeze between the 2 doors without even disturbing the chains an iota. And then as he steps through, Sean too immediately follows, doing a similar thing, though he's a bit of a smaller person compared to Robert. And as he slides in and moves the door to shut just a tiny bit, Robert, when you stepped in, what you see is a big open, what would be store. Old dirty tiles line the entire floor. The grout is like a nasty dark brown and black, and there's different variety of color stains all over the place. And you can clearly see where shelves were once standing, as the off-colored, sun-bleached floors that were surround that area dictate and tell you where it once was. But as you step in, there's this immediate sound of a person gasping. And as you turn, finish stepping in and turn your head to the left, you see a individual that is standing near the door. You don't have time to react before Sean is also stepping in. And as Sean steps in, kind of blocks the view, Sean, you too hear this this gasp. And when you turn, you see this young man, maybe 19 or 20 years old, kind of just dressed casually, nothing really standing out about him except for the fact that he has a huge machete dangling from his belt, looks to you in pure surprise. And in that moment, in understanding where you are with the information that you were given, knowing who that information came from in the first place, any chance that you are caught or this leaks could sour a very beneficial business relationship. And so with that messy crit, Robert, you watch as Sean deftly steps in, and without a thought, Sean, do me a favor. I think it costs you a rouse check, but increase your strength for me. And that's what you'll end up doing. You'll be bumping it to 3. And what you see, Robert, as he Yeah, what you see, Robert, is as he slips in and he quickly moves in to cover this person's mouth. His left forearm is pressed up against their throat, while his right hand goes up against their mouth. You watch; it's subtle, and a kine eye may not be able to catch it, but a kindred eye is more attuned to the details. You watch as Sean's body does oddly change in a inhumane way. When somebody is hit with adrenaline or they lift something heavy, you can see the veins and the muscles. But you very rarely watch them personally grow and engorge. As his own vitae moves through his veins, his very stature, his figure, openly changes in front of you in a way that makes him, you actually see his forearms grow bigger. You see the muscles on his back tighten his shirt just a little bit. And as he throws himself into this person, Sean quickly realizes they are kine of some kind, and with a swift motion of his right hand while pinning their neck, snaps their neck. And their last breath escapes before the kine drops to the ground, dead, before they have a chance to shout or scream. Robert is aware of your clan, is he not? Or is he not?
I don't think I've ever directly told Robert. But he may have
Robert,
heard
you would
from
know in your
conversation or the others.
Perhaps, but in this moment, Robert, you are of an age where you've seen or come across a few of these clan. They are not part of the kindred, or not part of the Camarilla, and you know that Sean is pretending to be a Ventru as Duke's child, but the clan Zemitzi, known as the Old Blood or the Old Clan, Dragon Clan, are unique in that they have the ability to manipulate the very flesh that they inhabit, and for some, the flesh of others. And you watch as Sean portrays that ability rather openly. And again, you probably have heard like he is this particular clan, but it's the very first time you watch as his own body physically transforms. And it stays that way for, what is it, the scene?
Until I change it back.
Oh, until he actively changes it back. So he messy criticaled, and so he kills the guard that was just there. If there's any hunger, the person's vitae is still viable in this moment.
No, I'm still wait. I rolled a success.
But does Robert see that all of that entire scene, him slipping through the door, throwing his body against this person, his body kind of getting larger before he snaps their neck? That was like, we're looking like 6 seconds or so. Very, very fast.
Impressive. Most impressive. Also, I thought you were the one that was against murder, and there you are just murdering away like there's no tomorrow.
I never said I was against murder.
I said I wanted to murder everyone in this building, and you stopped me. To me, that seems like you're against murder, but maybe that's just me.
Okay, I'll be real specific. I don't want to kill the thin blood that's in here.
Fine.
Anyone else is fair game, apparently. That was weird. I'm kind of happy. I actually impressed you. And you said it
with yourself?
Yeah. I'm just kind of awkwardly.
I mean, it is impressive. Was that instinctual, or was that something you chose?
He thinks about it for a second. I did not choose that. No, that was. But we had to keep quiet, so like. Why? Should it not be?
That's up for you to decide. I've no opinion.
As you're having this chat, again, Sean, you see the same empty room that I described to Robert, off in the back where the storage would be kept. Almost like it's not really a warehouse, but just kind of like that back area of a lot of thrift shops where it's just like all the donations that haven't been sorted yet. That too is relatively empty. You can see from what little you can see from the doorway across this big giant room. But you don't need to make a wits awareness check to hear very definitive chatting happening in the back room as it echoes in this empty building very, very easily. Then with just a few moments of picking up the voices, you're picking up at least 3 people having a talk. What they're talking about is really hard to tell. The words are a little bit muddled in the echoey room, but you can hear 3 distinctive voices.
More murder?
Yeah, I mean, why don't we at least investigate first?
Right. Yeah, investigate.
Hey, if you have powers that you don't know about, see if you can turn invisible, like our Max.
Oh, that'd be great.
Maybe you have these... Just concentrate. Believe in yourself.
I did do that once.
We get as he says that, our camera kind of gets a small profile shot of the both of them. Robert, believe in yourself. And we watch Sean stand there. Does he try? Like, we watch him just like closing his eyes, gritting his teeth, and for a moment, just like an awkward, dead, silent beat.
I think you're fading out. Yes. You're starting to dim, I think. Just keep concentrating.
Okay.
And with that egging on, I imagine Sean is just like keeps going, and Robert, you let that moment now drags on to 2 or 3 as he's sitting there trying extremely hard. At any point, does Robert just say like he's invisible, or does he give up the gag?
It's not working. Sorry.
I promise, I did do it once.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah. Like, I was stuck in a warehouse and people were trying to kill me. Anyway, we'll talk about that later.
Maybe you need to be under duress of some sort for it to truly work.
Yep. I don't...
Well, all right. Since that's not going to work, should we listen? Let's try to see if we can determine what the voices are saying.
Do you want to get closer to the back door area to get a better listen? Feel free to make me 2 dexterity stealth checks as you want to move across the room. Relatively easy. I'm only looking for 1 success, as you don't need much. The person that would have been a problem is dead. That's it. 1 success from both of you. You are easily and very quickly able to skirt through this giant open room. You realize that one person that was left there was the only person left to guard them for the front door, clearly not expecting anyone to know that they are here and kind of holed up here. You reach the back area where this double doors are kept, and if you push through them, you can they're like if you go to Target or something like that. Those kind of double doors are where the faculty, employees only can go, where it's like just like little windows on each one. As you arrive and get closer, you can actually hear the voices much, much, much clearly. And they're talking about a game of poker they played the other night, and they're absolutely convinced Travis cheated. And Travis, the best he can, is defending himself, saying, he didn't cheat. Motherfuckers, I wouldn't cheat. I've never cheated before. I had a good night with good hands. Yeah, you're a fucking asshole. You've never once, have you ever won a goddamn thing in any of the games we ever played? And last night, you fucking swept us and you expect us? Patrick, fucking listen, it's just like back and forth bickering over whether Travis cheated at poker last night.
Can I determine if these kindred or kind?
You can. It's a difficult roll, but from here, I would need another wits investigation roll, because you're looking for little tells from a distance, breathing when they're not speaking, tiny little things like that. So I'm looking for a high number of successes here. Like we're looking at, I need 3 successes for this.
Not
all right. Sean, you can make me one as well.
I have Sense the Beast, so I'll attempt with that.
Oh, you don't need a rouse check for that, right?
No rouse check, no. Oh,
so
there we go.
Oh yeah. Oh wow, beautiful. Robert, you sit there for a moment and you're kind of watching and trying to see if you catch any glimpses of a breath, but it's dim light. It's hard to tell, and they're bickering so quickly. It's hard to tell who might be breathing and who might not be. But as the camera shifts perspectives over to Sean, the world just goes silent. Instead of looking for breath or trying to determine if someone's warm from a distance, Sean, while looking through, almost sees the world entirely blankly. There's no concern over physical appearance. In fact, your concentration moves elsewhere. What you see turns to a blur. And us as viewers see a swirling serpent deep within his chest, moving, unable to rest. Almost, we'll call it uneasy, swirling, consistently concerned, in a defensive posture. One of them also has the beast. And yours is more than ready to show that it is the dominant one. And if you, it tells you which one specifically has the beast. It would be Travis.
I motion to inform Robert. Which one?
The one being accused of cheating is a kindred.
Is it the one you're looking for?
I guess we can ask them.
All right, and does the door appear to be just, we can open the door and walk right in?
Yeah, you could just, it's just, there's no locks, no chains. It's just swinging double doors that are closed at the moment that you can hear and see them through a little bit. Does Robert just kind of like, okay, and he walks to the double doors, places his hands on them, and kind of just shoves them open?
Oh, I didn't say that.
I know you didn't say that. That's why I was asking, is that what we're thinking?
Not yet.
I can see that happening where it's like, hello there, I've arrived.
All right. Yes. I walk up to the double doors, push them open, boldly walk in and say, all right, I'm from the Gary Gambling Commission. There'll be no cheating at cards here. That's a major offense.
Sean, the camera sticks with you as like the doors swing open. We see the back of Robert as he steps in. We can hear all of that through the doors as they're swinging open and shut. But our camera lingers on Sean because I just need to know the face he's making when he does this.
It's somewhere between confused and amused and like concerned. Because these kind of things that Robert does where he bursts into places and makes pronouncement normally ends with more people dying. So
but
he's gonna
worked out in your favor every time.
Yeah, he's gonna like quickly scurry up behind Robert as like
So
muscle.
As one time the doors swing back open, just in that rhythmic way, you slip through and step behind. And at the end of your declaration, Robert, the three of them are all turned to you, and you can get a good look at them now. The one that was talking about not cheating, the one you know as Travis, looks like maybe in his 30s or 40s. It's lightly salt and pepper, well-kept hair, a 5 o'clock guff that just really hasn't been taken care of, and since he's kind, is permanently on his face as such. Bags under his eyes and skin slightly more pale than a kind's would be. Wearing business casual? You're talking khaki pants, a button-up shirt that's unbuttoned at the very top, and some nicer dress shoes, I guess you could consider it. As he whips around, the two behind him also turn, both much younger, but as far as you know, and as far as your since the beast told you, both kind in some fashion, not full kindred. But your eyes, Robert, in particular, get drawn elsewhere. As you meet the gaze of these three individuals, the sounds of what's coming from above in the rafters of the ceiling quickly draws your attention. And our camera follows his gaze as it goes from them up to the top. And what you see is surprising, disturbing, disheartening perhaps. You see a familiar face, bound in chains, tied to the very top, with instead of a ball gag in their mouth, you just see a stuff of cloth and then the chains around their throat. A woman in her 30s or 40s. A woman you haven't seen in centuries. A woman who was once your mother, quote unquote, of the family you once took care of long ago in England, before you were swept away by your sire and sent to the newer world. And there she sits, hanging in the dim light, a panicked gaze that you can't even tell if she recognizes you or not, or if it's pure fear. And Sean, there's something weird about this one as well. your beast rides, but in a way that is less combative, less alpha meets alpha, and more almost a feeling of the right to rule. A leader taking in a weaker. Oh God, there's a word I'm looking for, and it's just slipping the fuck out of my mind. It's driving me crazy. Like, I know there's a word that's going to describe it perfectly. What was that?
A member of the pack kind of thing?
Yeah, it's more like a domination thing. Like a stronger alpha finds a weaker male in like the wild, and all they do is like exert their power and influence over them. Where you and this other kindred across the room almost feels a threat to one another. You feel no threat from this one. In fact, you feel nothing but an ownership, a dominant. Like, you could easily take, you could put them in their place. As a weak, thin blood is what I'm saying. It's like a weak beast inside them that sits like a spark of something that could be greater. A spark of something that you once were, but are no longer.
Okay.
Robert.
Yeah.
What do you do? What does we see Robert's reaction as his gaze trails up and sees such a familiar face?
Emotion overtakes me, and
would Robert potentially fury frenzy?
There's no potential
for you, Jason.
He would.
You would. Okay, so you have two options.
He sees his old familiar, as it would, some may call, and sees her in danger, and his only reaction is rage, and rage upon these three gambling idiots that are seemingly holding her captive, and he just wants to destroy them all.
And then we will say what you do is, instead of making a test to resist the fury frenzy, the beast on the inside, the thing that makes you what you are, clawing, desperate to make a point out of these three creatures to dare cross into such personal boundaries, even if they weren't aware this is something they should never have done. And instead of rolling to resist, you can ride the wave. And riding the wave, you have control. And you give in to your fury frenzy. For us as the listeners and as the viewers, we follow that gaze, and our camera slowly pans back to Robert's still, stoic face. The sounds of the conversation are utterly muted to all of us. We hear the absence of sound and only see determination glued to Robert's face. Robert, who is the first of these three you go for? Two of them are not kindred. One is. You have a gun, and you would know shooting the two that aren't kindred would be more fatal to them. Or you could go right. What would Robert do in this moment? Who would he attack?
I think normally Robert would methodically pull out his weapon and take out the two humans first, but he's not thinking straight.
Or perhaps he's thinking more clearly than he has in a long time. Please make me a roll of dexterity firearms. Okay, you just get a little hungrier. Okay. And now make me a dexterity firearms with a +2 extra dice. Holy.
That guy's dead.
Oh my god. Holy crap. Oh my god. Jesus. I don't think I've seen that many. Oh my god. What is it? 9 successes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 8, 9. Oh my god, dude. That's so many. Okay, hang on. I wanted to check an ability too to see if you could do something else, but he might not fucking need it at that point. Jesus.
Yeah,
that's the thing, is just like, god, you just fucking, this game is so lethal. I love it so much. That silence that we hear, the utter absence of sound, the look of pure determination on Robert's face, we snap zoom back, and in that motion, Robert simultaneously reaches under his coat and pulls his familiar friendly pistol. Sean, you watch, is in within a moment. He pulls the pistol, cocks it, and the loud thundering crack of a firearm goes off. and the man by the name of Patrick, who was sitting on the left of this kindred, collapses to the ground like dead weight as a bright spray of red exits the rear of his head. Blood begins to pool underneath. And Jason, you may make me another dexterity firearms check.
Do I
have to get a surprise round, but you got no. Unless you want to rouse the blood again, you can. I'm giving you a bonus round as you surprise attack to them. You freaking busted in the door, so it's like, I'm here. Oh, you're dead.
The Gambling Commission does not fuck around.
3 successes, and you're welcome to spend a willpower and re-roll 3 of those failures if you'd like. Your call.
I'll take the 3.
No, stick with that. And your gun does extra damage. I think it does an extra 3 off the bat. And what you, Sean, you watch as that first body collapses to the ground, you're actually unable to perceive how quickly he moves his arm from one target to the next. It's as though you blinked and his whole entire arm's position was in a different place at a speed that you can't keep track of. And then the second loud crack of a pistol rings across a mostly empty room. And the one to his right, with a bright spray of blood, this time out of his neck to the corner, hits the wall before he doesn't collapse to the ground but grasps at his throat. He drops his weapon with a few gurgles. He falls to his knees and then slowly lifts to his side as blood pools beneath his neck. Yes.
And as I pull the trigger, I say, "Don't fuck with the Gary Gambling Commission. Cheating will not be tolerated."
Sean, what do you do on your round here? As there is now the kindred alive and the thin blood in that's being held by chains.
I think Sean's given over to his animalistic side as this scene progresses. So like at this point, he's just overjoyed that this kindred, who was clearly his target all along, is still alive for him to kill. So he just kind of jumps past Robert and is going to beat the crap, like full-on leap onto him and just start wailing on this guy with the intent to crush his head.
Obviously a strength brawl check for me, please.
Yeah.
I'll be rolling with a massive penalty to my pool.
Ooh, 3.
Would you like to stick with that, or would you like to spend a willpower and roll?
I'm gonna willpower that.
Okay.
No.
No.
Rob, help.
Robert, just again, this is all happening in a matter of 5 or 6 seconds all at once.
Right.
Robert busting through the door, firing the first shot, quickly followed by the other in less than a second, with 2 bodies collapsing to the ground. And Robert, before you have time to bring your gaze to the third, from behind you, Sean leaps overhead, soaring across the air, just to look it's like you said, animalistic. It is not human how much he's able to cover that distance. And with 3 successes, while you land, hands on his shoulders, knees on his chest, he actually is able to stumble back and hold you just a bit before collapsing to the ground. And in that moment where he seems like he's going to stand, you bring back your right elbow and slam it into his jaw. You hear a gentle crack, and that alone tumbles him to the ground. You won by 1 success, and you have him pinned to the ground. He is struggling, so it will be an opposed check, but we're now in the next round. Robert, you see with your gun out, again, he soared across the room and just quickly landed on this guy's chest. You just saw him throw an elbow into his jaw, and now he's down with Sean pinning him onto the ground. What would Robert do in this moment?
Well, first, I would say George the Animal Steel taught me that move.
I love it. I love it.
Hit him with the elbow.
You gonna? Oh, so do you want to head over to and like draw? You want to like beat on the guy that's being held down?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you want to put a bullet in him, or you want to like? You said you drop an elbow on this guy.
Yes, I want to drop the elbow. I mean,
Please give me a strength plus brawl roll. As always, you can rouse your blood again and add 2d10 to this if you would like. Okay, still added one more, so that's 3 successes. Because he's being pinned down and he's going to end up giving his defenses all to Sean, basically. He's only going to 1d10 to resist. And he fucking miserably failed. And so Robert walks around to the front and, as he says, he's learned this from, and just like kind of brings his elbow up and drops down onto this guy. And you just watch his nose collapse inward as blood spews out and begins to kind of trickle outward. Now, again, his vitae is thicker, slower, and even from this distance, so much sweeter smelling than any of the kind's blood could ever be. Sean, you're just going to keep on beating this guy?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Give me an intelligence resolve check.
I had an overabundance of brains, but I crit.
Oh, yeah. God, I thought that was my roll. Fuck! I thought that was I was like, yes, I crit. It did not crit. Damn it. So as you're like rearing up to bring a true beatdown, you're just seconds after throwing him to the ground, cracking his jaw, he quickly gets a look of your eyes. And there's a moment where you feel the serpent that swirls inside freeze for one moment, where he just looks to you and says, go outside, put your weapons down, and go home. And there's a desire, a true inner desire to, and you feel your left leg want to for just a moment. Before you hear a voice in your own head retort, you don't listen to anyone but me. The voice of Father. In that drawn up echo of a memory, that desire dissipates. Your leg moving to leave stops. And as you look down on him, perhaps silently, perhaps Sean says something.
I don't listen to anyone. And you owe me.
The man you're looking down on seems confused, but doesn't have time to really ingest what you say. As Robert, you watch as he brings up his fist and swings down. You see a tooth fly. He brings up his left fist and then collides with the other side of this man's jaw. Blood sputters to the concrete ground. And he brings up his right fist and brings it down and his left, over and over and over again, until either Robert stops him, or are you beating him into, are you looking to dust him?
I'll beat him into torpor.
Do you think there is a fury frenzy in this moment, rather? Let me ask you that question first.
I don't think so, because Sean's pretty confident in his victory here.
Yeah. And you watch Robert as in a couple of seconds, fists rain down. And what was once a recognizable face of what could be a human man, though we all know he was a kindred, is now unrecognizable as thick vitae leaks from wounds that are unseeable. Bones and teeth that, if scattered from his mouth, have already turned to dust. And he lies in front of you in torpor, beaten, elbowed, and pinned.
Yeah. That felt good.
Sean, kind of stands up, maybe stretches a bit, blood dripping from his bare knuckles, the moonlight just catching him a bit through the window. And he reactively and instinctually just takes kind of a heavy breath, even though he doesn't need to. And he says, yeah, that felt good. Robert standing just inches away, his gun being reholstered as the two dead bodies to his left and his right speak of how good he is. The two of you stand victorious. Above you, the chains of the wiggling person snap you back into the present moment.
I would say that is exactly enough murder for today. Should we get her down?
Let's get up there and get her down safely.
Of course.
Doesn't take too long for you to unravel the chains and bring her to the floor. My only question before this last bit, are you going to leave Patrick here, or rather Travis here, and not take it? Because, I mean, you already have a prisoner. You're kind of running out of room for prisoners. You know, like have infinite prisoner space. And it's people
right, we don't want
to
to lease another place for prisoners. It just seems economically a stupid move.
Do you want to take him? Or are you going to leave him here? You didn't kill him. You didn't break any camera law. You beat him, but that's fine. That happens.
So
it's Gary, Indiana.
What do we do with this guy? Like, do we just leave him? Like, he's learned his lesson, right?
I mean, do you think he'll know who we are if we just leave him?
Almost everybody in Gary knows who you are.
I'll figure it out.
Well, I mean, even if he does, do you think he'll do anything about it? We just destroyed him.
Depends on how angry he gets. I'm willing to find out.
He may get well, I mean, we could always use another pair of hands at the tire shop. Let's just bring him and put him in servitude.
You could also, like, chain him up and leave him for the sun to greet, and, you know, you can do it.
See what happens. Oh, man.
Your call.
Yeah.
Just let me know.
Well, I mean, let's tie him up, take him back to the tire shop, see if Vera needs another set of hands, and if not, we'll put him on the roof at 6 a.m.
Man, we are just abducting people left, right, and center. Yep, all right.
That won't have any repercussions. So that decision is made, and you lower this woman after, like I said, it doesn't take long before you bring this woman down to the ground. And as in the standing amongst a couple of dead bodies and a torpored kindred, she finally lands on her feet. You pull the gag out of her mouth, and there's a true look of exhaustion plastered upon her face. But her eyes have never left Robert since he stepped into this room. And as she stands on her own 2 feet, she takes a couple of shaky steps toward Robert, her eyes wide, while a look of disbelief plastered across her. She reaches up to touch your chin and cheek. Do you allow her to do so, Robert?
Yes.
She does so, and as she drags her fingers across your face, realizing that you are not a hallucination and are in fact real, she collapses into you and gives you a hug as you feel her entire body relieve. A few deep breaths as she cries silently, and she just quietly whispers into your ear, "I never thought I would see you again."
Neither did I, but I'm here now.
Do you embrace her back and kind of like bring her close, or does Robert kind of just let her do the hugging? I'm curious.
I embrace her. Now that I've seen her face to face, I realize how much we have missed each other. So I take her into a warm embrace.
When you say "I'm here now" and give her a true hug, and again, as you feel her entire body relax, we slowly pan out to see Sean watching, understanding that what she is not what she once was when she was a ghoul. But the panning doesn't stop. We slide out the window and get a good full view of this building before we fade to black. And we'll return next week with another episode. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Goodbye.